Welcome to the Vocational Expert Views channel. We specialize in VA disability TDIU evaluations. Today I am covering everything you need to know about VA C&P exams and DBQ for post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm going to share how you crush it no matter how scared you are right now. So first things first, getting scheduled for any compensation and pension exam is scary. It's a little bit uncomfortable, but I think if you know what to expect and how to prepare for the big day, I'm also going to teach you how to be uncomfortably vulnerable, share your uncomfortable truths about how your PTSD is negatively affecting your work, your life, your social functioning. I'm also going to cover some tips and strategies for exam day as well as some questions you should be prepared to answer. Now first things first, there are 3 different types of PTSD C&P exams. First is something called a PTSD initial exam. This means that you're filing a new claim for PTSD. You don't already have a service-connected VA rating for PTSD, you're a first-time filer. Now, initial PTSD claims and exams are going to be more in-depth and more thorough because they're going to go way back to the very beginning, and they're also going to have to validate something called your PTSD stressor event. Now the VA has a new form for that you need to fill out and upload with your claim. It's the VA Form 21-0781. That's your stressor statement for post-traumatic stress disorder. Now again, PTSD initial exams cover both combat and non-combat related PTSD claims. The second type of PTSD C&P exam is something called a PTSD review exam. This means you already have a VA disability rating for PTSD, but you've requested an increase. Now sometimes you're going to get popped for a review exam within the first 5 years of having your initial PTSD rating because you're being re-evaluated. It's called a routine future evaluation. The third type is a PTSD personal trauma exam. It's the same general thing, it's a PTSD exam, but the stressor event involves some type of traumatic stressor, maybe a military sexual assault, harassment, battery, robbery, you know. The only difference between personal trauma exams and those that aren't personal trauma is they're going to ask perhaps some more sensitive questions. What is the purpose of a VA compensation and pension exam? There are 4 things that you need to be aware of that the C&P examiner is trying to ascertain. Number 1, they are trying to determine if you have a medical diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder that conforms to DSM-5 standards. That's the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Health Conditions that the law governs under 38 CFR Part 4, the Schedule for Rating Disabilities. So number 1, determine the diagnosis. Number 2, validate the stressor event. Again, it could be combat, personal trauma. The key element for whether your stressor event is good enough is whether or not you feared for your life. The third thing, the examiner is going to provide their medical opinion on whether they believe your PTSD was caused or made worse by your active duty military service. Now again, that's only for initial claims for PTSD. If you already have a VA rating for PTSD, they're not validating your stressor, they're not confirming your diagnosis, they're not giving a medical opinion, they're trying to determine if your symptoms have worsened, meaning you would get the higher rating. The fourth part is the assessment of your severity of symptoms in terms of frequency, severity, and duration, and then how do those symptoms negatively impact occupational and social impairment. Again, those are the 4 things that the examiner is trying to determine on exam day. What can you expect during a C&P exam for PTSD? Number 1, there's going to be a comprehensive and detailed review of your medical history, your medical records. The examiner has access to all of this stuff prior to the exam. Number 2, there's going to be discussions of symptoms. The examiner should ask you about how severe your symptoms are, when you notice them, how often you experience them. Be prepared to talk about everything, including hallmark PTSD symptoms like flashbacks, nightmares, anxiety, depression, OCD-like behaviors, avoidance behaviors. Number 3, negative impacts on your work, life, and social functioning. Be prepared to talk about this and use examples. So for example, here would be something. My anger is so severe it's hurting my relationship with my spouse, my kids are afraid of me. My insomnia is so severe I can't sleep, and it's impacting my work. I'm not alert, I fall asleep at work, I've gotten in trouble at work. Be prepared to talk about those things. The examiner is also going to go through a detailed mental health evaluation and walk through your history from your childhood to your military service to your post-military service. There could be some psychological testing, it's usually just some questionnaires, which I'll cover a little bit later. But then the examiner is going to complete the DBQ for PTSD, the Disability Benefits Questionnaire, absolutely a critical piece of document, and then that document is going to flow forward to the VA rater for evaluation. What are some common questions that you can expect? Well, let me give you an example. Describe for me your current symptoms of PTSD. How do your current symptoms of PTSD negatively affect you? Can you give me some examples of how your PTSD is negatively impacting your work, your life, your social functioning? Again, be prepared for those types of things. And then when it comes to PTSD symptoms, pay particular attention to the 31 mental health symptoms listed in the DBQ for PTSD. Now the standard is you don't need to have any of those symptoms under the law, technically. Now a common misconception among veterans is that you need to have all those symptoms checked, or well, the examiner only checked 6 of these, and I've got 17 of them. Well, just because you think you have a symptom of mental health doesn't mean you meet the clinical criteria that an examiner is going to assess on exam day. Now the other thing you need to understand is the number of symptoms checked on the PTSD DBQ does not correspond directly to a VA rating. What matters is the severity of symptoms that are checked. Let me give you an example. I've seen a veteran have 12 of the 31 symptoms checked, and they got a 30% rating for PTSD. I've seen a veteran with 4 of the symptoms checked who got a 100% rating for PTSD. The difference is the severity of the symptoms that are checked. So go review that and have a general understanding of where you fall. Now some tips: gather your records and documents and review your medical evidence prior to exam day. Write down some functional impacts and impairments that you're having. List specific examples of how your PTSD is negatively impacting you. I'll give you a couple more. Hey, my anger is so severe, my road rage, I drove somebody off the road the other day and got out ready to fight. Hey, my insomnia is so severe that I can't sleep, and I'm having trouble with my work. I'm falling asleep at work, I got written up for poor performance. Maybe your OCD-like behaviors are keeping you up at night, you're constantly checking windows and doors. Maybe you don't want to leave your home. Maybe literally your PTSD is so severe you don't want to leave your house. Maybe every time you go to a restaurant, you have to sit with your back to the exit so you can see who's coming and going. Maybe you're constantly suspicious of everyone. Maybe your anxiety is so severe that you can't be out in crowds anymore, and it's impacting your ability to function in daily life. These are things that are very real, okay? By the way, these are things that affect me, so I can share these things with you. But you need to be prepared to tell your true story, and you need to be uncomfortably vulnerable to talk about how your PTSD is negatively impacting you. I also think you should review the DBQ for PTSD, the Disability Benefits Questionnaire, so you can bring somebody with you. I get asked this a lot: Brian, can I bring somebody with me to the exam? You can. I'm not necessarily sure that it's going to help you, it's not required. I've never brought anyone with me to a C&P exam, but you certainly can, okay. What other testing might happen at my C&P exam for PTSD? Last but not least, what checklists, what questionnaires, what diagnostic testing might happen? I think you should generally be familiar with something called the PHQ-9, the GAD-7, and the PCL-5 for PTSD. It's the Patient Health Questionnaire 9, it's really just a screening tool for depression. The GAD-7 is called the Generalized Anxiety Disorder 7, it's a 7-question checklist that represents how severe your anxiety is. And then probably the most important one for PTSD C&P exams is something called the PTSD Checklist for DSM-5, it's the PCL-5. It's a questionnaire of 20 questions used to assess whether you have PTSD and then the severity. There's like 40 questions? On mental health. C&P exam questions you might get asked, as well as the DBQ forms and some examples for you for C&P exam day. As vocational experts we exist for veterans and because of veterans, and we will help you whether you're trying to increase a VA rating, maybe the VA wrongfully denied your claim, and you want to fight it, maybe you need more medical evidence for your disability claim, you need DBQs, you want to do an independent mental health evaluation. Again, we can help with all of that. We will help you punch the VA in the face and fight a fair fight because we know these are your rightfully earned VA disability benefits. Can't wait to help you change your life, fellow vets. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a like, a comment, and a share. Fellow veterans, you've just learned how to ace your VA C&P exam or DBQ for PTSD and maximize your VA disability benefits. But here's the truth. Thousands of TDIU claims are denied every year because veterans go it alone, risking delays, rejections, and lost benefits. Why let that happen to you when you can take control today? NEPQ problem agitation question. Our vocational evaluations are your key to proving unemployability and securing the 100% TDIU compensation you deserve. It's simple, email ve.3report@gmail.com with TDIU in the subject, visit our website, or text 404-735-6900 for a personal consultation. Our experts will review your records, assess additional testing needs, and deliver a rock-solid vocational evaluation report to strengthen your claim. What's stopping you from securing your future right now? Act today at ve.3report@gmail.com or text 404-735-6900. Your benefits, your future, your victory start now. Thank you, God bless, and let's win this together.